Coverage today is brought to you by the members of the DL 500 Club. For just $10 a month, you get exclusive content and send me to all the races. Well, that was the 12 Hours of Sebring, as we kind of expect it now. Absolute chaos. Pretty much an hour sprint to the end. We'll talk about that and kind of the lack of endurance in the endurance races these days. But overall, an extremely positive and extremely entertaining race for entirety of 12 hours. You look at some of the storylines, so many great storylines. Many of them we kind of bumbled into covering this week, so you're welcome. It probably enhanced, and I know it might enhance my viewing to have known some of those stories going in and see them play out throughout the race. Looking at yesterday's video, I predicted, of course, the 4 classes. I got 2 of those right, and those were the 2 GT winners. Spoilers from here on out. The GT Pro winners were the number 14 Lexus Racing Vassar Sullivan cars. It made a lot of sense to pick them. They were the fastest car all week long, best driver lineup in GT this weekend. The right car, the right team, the right drivers won. And sometimes, even in a BOP formula, that's the way it should be. So congratulations to Lexus on that one. And in GTD, I guess we're just gonna leave off the AM for now. It was indeed Windward Racing coming from the back to the front. I feel good about getting that one right. I feel like Windward Racing wins every single endurance race, every single race I ever go to. It's always the Windward car winning. So if you're a gentleman driver and you want an easy win, perhaps go buy a ride with Windward Racing. Prototype I got wrong. LMP2 went to Era Motorsports over my pick, the number 11 TDS Orica. And I classify the chassis as well because there was a non-Orica in the top 5. We'll get to that story. But obviously the Era Motorsports win, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in this video, absolutely significant for a number of reasons. In particular, the driver who carried them to victory, Conor Zillich, who of course we talked to in an extended interview earlier this week. He's going to make his Truck Series debut next weekend at the Circuit of the Americas for Spire Motorsports. We'll talk about him much more later on in this video. And GTP winning overall as well. The streak is over for Cadillac. It was the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport, or Andretti Global, sorry, Andretti Global, Indy NXT. I'll get it right eventually. Craftsman Truck Series. What else do I need to remember? By Firestone. The Craftsman Truck Series by Firestone. Yeah, it was amazing to see that the 40 pulled it off. They had been the fastest car over a single lap pace throughout the race, but I mean, it was so difficult, I think, to beat the 31 car today. And essentially, it came down to what I said yesterday, which was the only thing that's going to stop the 31 is an act of God. And unfortunately, that happened. It was Pippo Durrani at the wheel, and tell me where you heard this one before. It was contact with a Ferrari GT car, and upside down went Pippo Durrani on top of the wall. Violent-looking accident, kind of reminded me of the one that Jose Maria Lopez suffered here in the Toyota a couple of years ago here at Sebring. But thankfully, Pippo got out of the car. The chassis actually didn't look too bad. I went over and took a look at it in the paddock after that accident. Remarkable job by Dallara to build that car, build such a strong and safe car, and great circuit design for the tire wall. Everything worked the way it was supposed to work, and Pippo Durrani got out of that crash. But of course, that took out the dominant force in the race and really kind of turned everything upside down for the race. I mean, it was really I thought for sure the 31 had it. If there was anybody who was going to challenge the 31, I thought it was probably the 7. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's just start talking. Well, as I found, maybe I should read my script, David. Read your script. Because the battle in GTP was a huge storyline throughout this race. And Wayne Taylor even said it in his post-race interview on Radio Le Mans. The series definitely got the BOP right. I keep saying the naughty word or the naughty letters, BOP, balance of performance. If you don't know what that means, that's how the rules are written to keep the cars close if you're new to sports car racing. But I think the BOP was great. I mean, pretty much every manufacturer had a chance up in the top, at the top of the heap at one point or another, except for Lamborghini. However, Lamborghini made it to the end of the race, scored a top 10 finish. Good for them. But, you know, the battle between the 31 and the 7 was absolutely incredible. At times, Dane Cameron, I thought, was willing to lay his life on the line to lead at hour 6 of a 12-hour race. But that being said, it was fantastic entertainment to see the 31 and the 7 absolutely hammering on each other. The 6 Porsche was up there. The 10 Wayne Taylor car looked like it was positioning itself very well to win this race. Unfortunately, it had an oil leak. It was burning oil, lost a lap, never recovered it, was never able to really be a contender again. But of course, that's where the pieces were picked up for the number 40 Andretti Acura. And that's a new team. It's kind of the continuation of the Shank program from last year, but now under the Andretti banner. Still 2 Acuras. There have only been 2 Acuras since their return to the series with Team Penske a couple of years ago. But it's all under the Andretti and Wayne Taylor banner this year. And you know what? What a great run for them, and what a great win for that expanding team. Now, I do want to say this. I mentioned it at the top of the show, is that something that bothers me, and I know bothers some other sports car fans, and really just kind of bothers me in general about racing these days, I mean, I think about it a lot at the Indy 500, is that towards the end of this race, when the yellows started stacking up, and you think about last year's race, while entertaining, you know, having a 5 to 6 car pileup down in turn 2 isn't necessarily the best look for an endurance race that's supposed to be 12 hours. Having a 15-minute shootout and a big crash isn't my definition of what sports car racing or endurance racing should be. So I was a little bit worried that was going to happen again. Thankfully, it did not. Now, was it still a sprint to the finish? Yes. Were there probably too many cars on the lead lap based on a lot of full course yellows that could have been virtual safety cars if those rules were on the book? Yes. Frankly, I think IMSA should really take a hard look at adopting virtual safety cars. I think I said this at this exact race last year, in fact. The virtual safety car, to me, is a way to kind of preserve the endurance aspect, preserve and really enhance the desire for teams and drivers to actually want to lead the race and build a lead because you can keep it. Now, certainly accidents like Pippo Durrani's would have necessitated a pack up and a full course yellow and all the wave arounds that you see in IMSA, but does a bumper laying on the track that could be repaired or could be taken in by a marshal under safe conditions, does that necessitate a full course yellow? I would say no. So a little sprinkle of criticism in an otherwise positive video. Wayne Taylor Racing, let's talk a little bit more about them. The duel between Louis Delatraz and Sebastian Bourdais was absolutely fantastic. Great entertainment, great excitement. I think Louis Delatraz is him, guys. I think Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti has really found a great driver. Of course, his background in Formula 2 didn't quite get to Formula 1, but I think he's got a great career ahead of him in sports cars after a performance like that. And to beat Sebastian Bourdais in a head-to-head duel like that, in the traffic, doing everything right, and it was just awesome. It was just what a great way to get that win, and yeah, it was a lot of fun at the top of the overall. Let's talk a little bit about LMP2. Much like Louis Delatraz is him, Conor Zillich is him. With about 40 minutes to go, did anyone expect that the Aero Motorsports car was going to win the race, except for Kyle, who is pointing at himself right now? Kyle did say to me, it's going to be a career-defining race for Conor Zillich, and as it turns out, yes, it was. I mean, and frankly, the thing that you kind of have to look at with race car drivers is, you know, when they're in command of the race, is there a question mark? Is there a thought process ever that they're not going to win it? And at least for me, looking at Zillich in that particular race, at that particular situation, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to win the race. He really just does seem like he's got that X factor. And, you know, I already tweeted it out, but he's expressed ambitions to race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Quite frankly, I think he's earned the right. I mean, if anyone has, if you're an LMP2 team out there and you have a Le Mans invite, perhaps think about inviting Conor Zillich to drive your car, because chances are you're going to find it in Victory Circle at the end of the day. And at 17 years old, he's 2/3 of the way to the LMP2 Triple Crown of Motorsports. And frankly, you know, yes, he's going to go down a NASCAR path in his career, but if you're a hypercar team or if you're a GTP team, you're probably going to be wanting to call Conor Zillich. It's crazy and unfortunate to me, you know, and I'm gonna be a little bit of an open wheel snob here. The fact that open wheel racing probably isn't going to get him for a little while, if ever, is disappointing. What a fumble! But you know, hey, shit, at this point, maybe F1 will come calling. So who knows? But yeah, Conor Zillich, absolutely unbelievable to carry that Era Motorsports car into victory lane for the second race in a row. And if you're Era Motorsports, you've got to be just tap dancing on every rooftop everywhere until the next LMP2 race, which I think is months away. So they're going to have a long time to savor this. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to necessarily like pat myself on the back too much, but we definitely gave the DL bump to a couple of LMP2 teams this week. And Sean Creech Motorsports, what a fantastic result to get the Ligier to 4th position. And, you know, some people are going to say strategy, which there was a lot of strategy involved, but mainly that was just to get their laps back. They had a bit of an incident with Lance early on in the race where he got into the back of the number 8 Starworks car. But, you know, that car was running 5th at the time of that accident. And so from my perspective, I think the Sean Creech Motorsports Ligier really did have the pace to finish where they did in this event. They got some luck. They were able to capitalize on some of the incidents throughout the field. But at the end of the day, they're the ones sitting in 4th place and everybody else isn't, right? So I just think that's a fantastic result for a one-car team. I mean, I hope I conveyed just how much of a struggle that is for a one-car team to do a one-car development on a chassis that is literally only raced in one championship at all around this world. I mean, that's just a great result for that team. I can't even begin to describe how important that is for them. And GT, the field-killing crash that wasn't at the start, the Risi Competizione Ferrari getting into, I think, a Lamborghini and a Ford, pinballing across the field. And somehow the only car that really got totally screwed by that was the Pfaff McLaren. They cannot buy a break. I'm sure they're looking to buy one if anyone is selling, because the Pfaff racing team, you know, you just feel so bad for them every time they have bad luck. And they had another crash earlier today. So Pfaff Motorsports just cannot buy a break. That's for dang sure. And of course, like I said earlier off the top, Lexus deserved this win. You know, and frankly, Risi gave them a great run to try to win the race. So, you know, the recovery drive from Risi to come back from that first lap shunt and to come back and race against the very top team this weekend for the Rolex 24 winners. And of course, there was a bit of a question mark over that with Ferrari and the series penalizing them. Now, of course, they didn't penalize Risi because they didn't know anything about it. So Risi Ferrari coming back and being a part of the battle for the win, that was great. GTD, as it turns out, the Windward Racing sensor didn't mean all that much. As I said yesterday, they were quick. I expected them to win. They did win. Isn't it nice when an expectation actually comes to fruition? And I guess I'll leave with this, and we'll leave on a positive note, because I think IMSA just kind of can't stop winning right now. They announced in the middle of the race a partnership with Automobilista 2 to become an official partner of the series. They'll supposedly have all of the 2024 cars and tracks available in that game/sim. That's great. I love Automobilista 2. I love the fact that we'll be able to simulate IMSA races totally with the full grid. That's great. That's why I love Le Mans Ultimate as well. The schedule was announced this weekend. John Doonan put the entire 2025 schedule out for the public to see. Name a racing series in the world that's able to do that. And finally, just a personal note, I love the fact that they burn a couch here every year. Just what a fantastic tradition here.
Video, they almost caught the woods on fire back there.
Yes, they did. They almost caught the woods on fire. Oh,
Just now.
Just now.
Yeah.
Who
You missed it. But
really?
Yeah.
They were.
It was as tall as the tree. It's in the background of the video a little bit.
While I'm talking.
Yeah.
I love this race. They almost burned the grandstand down, at least the fire that I got to see. Kyle got to see some arson as well today here at Sebring, and you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. This event, I love it so much. It's so awesome. If you haven't come to it, you absolutely should, because the 12 Hours of Sebring is one of the crown jewels of the racing year for a reason, and yeah, I just love it. So coverage of the Thermal Club is next week. I hope to see you guys on the channel looking out for that. Thank you guys so much for watching all of my sports car and St. Pete coverage over these last 2 weeks. It's been fantastic, and looking forward to keeping going throughout the year. We'll see you in the next video.